got straight on a plane to return. Seeing my wife have to be her strongest and knowing that it's the scariest of news.
For decades, Brad Pitt has been the golden boy of Hollywood, an Oscar winner, a leading man, and one of the most desirable actors on the planet. But behind the glamorous red carpets and blockbuster roles lies a question that has followed him his entire life. Who was the woman he truly loved? From whirlwind romances to high-profile marriages, Pitt's love life has been dissected like no other. Yet after years of silence, he has finally revealed who his true love really was. And the answer may not be who you expect. Stay with us as we unravel the truth about Brad Pitt's most intimate confession. Before Brad Pitt became one half of Hollywood's most talked-about power couples, before the paparazzi frenzies and tabloid wars, he was simply a rising star trying to navigate fame and love in the 1990s. And during this period, he entered one of his most influential relationships with Gwyneth Paltrow. Though the romance was relatively short-lived, it shaped how Pitt approached love, trust, and his future relationships in ways that would echo for decades. Brad and Gwyneth met in 1994 on the set of the psychological thriller C7N. At the time, Pitt was already gaining traction in Hollywood after his breakout in Thelma and Louise and standout performances in Legends of the Fall and Interview with the Vampire. Gwyneth, meanwhile, was the daughter of Hollywood royalty, actress Blythe Danner and producer Bruce Paltrow, and just starting to make her mark in the industry. Their chemistry was instant, both on-screen and off. Soon, they became inseparable, a golden couple who seemed to embody the youthful, glamorous spirit of the era. Their relationship wasn't just another celebrity fling. Pitt and Paltrow quickly became deeply entwined in each other's lives. Pitt called her "my angel" and gushed about her talent and spirit during award shows, even mentioning her in his 1996 Golden Globe acceptance speech. Gwyneth, for her part, spoke candidly years later about how intense and formative their romance had been. She admitted in interviews that Brad was, at that time, very much the love of her life. For the public, their bond seemed destined to last. And when Pitt proposed in 1996, it felt like Hollywood's next fairy tale was about to begin. But, behind the glittering facade, cracks began to form. Gwyneth was only 24 at the time of their engagement, still grappling with who she was and what she wanted from life. In later interviews, she reflected that she simply wasn't ready for marriage, or the level of commitment Brad offered. She confessed that she felt immature, admitting, "I messed that up. I was a kid. I wasn't ready. He was too good for me." These candid reflections, though made years after their split, shed light on why the relationship collapsed so suddenly in 1997, shocking fans and leaving Pitt heartbroken. The breakup wasn't marred by scandal, infidelity, or explosive drama. It was more a matter of timing and readiness. Pitt, by all accounts, wanted stability and a long-term partner, while Gwyneth still needed to grow into her own identity. It was a lesson Pitt would carry forward. Love isn't just about passion or connection, but about timing, maturity, and the ability to walk the same path together. The public reaction to their split was intense. At the time, Pitt was entering the prime of his career, and every move he made became fodder for the tabloids. The narrative painted him as the wounded romantic, the man left behind by a woman who didn't know what she had. Gwyneth, meanwhile, was often criticized in the press for throwing away Hollywood's most eligible bachelor. Yet, in hindsight, their breakup revealed a more human story. Two young people caught between the pressures of fame and the realities of adulthood. Interestingly, their post-breakup relationship remained respectful, even affectionate. Gwyneth has spoken warmly about Brad in recent years, recalling how deeply she cared for him and how their time together taught her valuable lessons about love and loss. For Pitt, the heartbreak seemed to serve as fuel. He poured himself into work, taking on riskier, more complex roles in films like Fight Club and 7 Years in Tibet, marking a transition into the more serious actor he would later become. But what makes this chapter of Pitt's life so significant isn't just the romance itself. It's how it laid the foundation for his approach to future relationships. Brad Pitt learned early on that even the most passionate love can crumble if the timing isn't right. He also learned the value of privacy, as the public dissection of his breakup with Gwyneth was only a preview of the intense media scrutiny that would later define his marriages. In many ways, Gwyneth was Pitt's first great love, the woman who showed him both the ecstasy of deep connection and the pain of losing it. Their story wasn't just a Hollywood fling, it was a genuine romance that could have gone the distance had circumstances been different. And though it didn't last, it left Brad with lessons that would shape how he loved, and sometimes how he lost in the years to come. As we move forward in Pitt's story, we arrive at the chapter that would define the early 2000s, his marriage to America's sweetheart, Jennifer Aniston. If his relationship with Gwyneth Paltrow was about youthful passion and lessons learned, his time with Jennifer would become about stability, fame, and a very public unraveling. If Gwyneth Paltrow was Brad Pitt's first great romance, then Jennifer Aniston was his first great partnership in love. Their relationship wasn't just a Hollywood headline, it was a cultural moment, the marriage that defined the early 2000s. Together, they were America's golden couple, the pair who seemed to have it all: beauty, talent, fame, and the kind of charisma that made people believe in fairy tales. Yet behind the smiles and magazine covers, cracks were forming, ones that would eventually lead to one of the most publicized breakups in Hollywood history. Brad and Jennifer's story began in 1998, when their managers set them up on a casual blind date. At the time, Pitt was already one of the most bankable stars in Hollywood, riding high on films like 7 Years in Tibet and Meet Joe Black. Aniston, meanwhile, was America's favorite girl next door, thanks to her role as Rachel Green on the cultural phenomenon Friends. From the very first meeting, sparks flew. Aniston later admitted that she felt butterflies and a sense of ease with Brad that she hadn't experienced before. For Brad, Jennifer represented a kind of warmth and stability he was craving after the turbulence of his past relationships. The couple's chemistry quickly became a public fascination. They made their red carpet debut at the 1999 Emmy Awards, sending the press into a frenzy. Within months, they were dubbed Hollywood's golden couple, and in July 2000, they married in a lavish Malibu ceremony. The wedding was a spectacle, complete with fireworks, celebrity guests, and tight security. But beyond the glamour, there seemed to be genuine love. In interviews, they spoke glowingly about each other. Brad described Jennifer as the sweetest woman, while Aniston often called him her love and her safety. For the first few years, their marriage appeared rock solid. They vacationed together, supported each other's careers, and shared a home life that seemed enviably normal for two of the most famous people in the world. Aniston often joked that Brad was her missing piece, while Pitt seemed equally smitten. For fans, they weren't just a couple. They were a symbol of romance in an industry notorious for short-lived flings. But even the most golden relationships can tarnish. By 2003, whispers began circulating in the tabloids about trouble in paradise. The pressures of fame, conflicting work schedules, and differing life goals began to take a toll. Aniston was wrapping up her decade-long run on Friends and considering starting a family, while Brad was diving headfirst into more intense, career-defining projects. Their visions for the future were beginning to diverge. The real fracture, however, came in 2004, when Brad began filming Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Angelina Jolie. Almost immediately, rumors spread about their undeniable chemistry on set. Though Brad and Angelina both denied any affair during the filming, the speculation grew louder. By January 2005, Brad and Jennifer announced their separation, and just months later, Jennifer filed for divorce. The media exploded. framing the breakup as a betrayal and casting Aniston as the heartbroken victim, while Brad and Angelina became the controversial new couple, Brangelina. For Jennifer, the breakup was deeply painful, not only because of the personal loss, but also because of the very public way it unfolded. In interviews, she admitted feeling blindsided and described the experience as humiliating. Tabloids painted her as the woman scorned, a narrative that followed her for years. Pitt, meanwhile, faced criticism for moving on so quickly, with many accusing him of emotionally abandoning Jennifer. Yet despite the media circus, both Brad and Jennifer attempted to maintain dignity. Aniston, in a famous Vanity Fair interview, said, "Brad was not mean-spirited. He would never intentionally try to hurt me." She also admitted that she would love him for the rest of her life, a sentiment that showed how complex their relationship truly was. Brad, too, would later clarify comments he made that seemed to disparage their marriage, insisting that Jennifer was a major part of his growth and that his unhappiness at the time was more about his own struggles than her. What made their breakup so monumental wasn't just the end of a marriage, it was the shattering of an ideal. For millions of fans, Brad and Jennifer had been the epitome of Hollywood romance. Their split felt personal, as though love itself had failed. The media obsession only intensified this, with paparazzi camping outside Aniston's home, dissecting every move, every tear, every smile. In retrospect, their relationship was both a dream and a cautionary tale. It showed how love can thrive even under the brightest spotlight, but also how fragile it can be when personal desires and life paths no longer align. Jennifer wanted a family at a time when Brad's focus was shifting toward artistic reinvention and, soon, the passionate relationship he would form with Angelina Jolie. Still, what remains most striking is the mutual respect they held for each other, even after the heartbreak. Over the years, their paths have occasionally crossed, famously at award shows in recent years, where their warm exchanges fueled endless speculation about reconciliation. For fans, the spark between them never truly died, even if the marriage did. Brad Pitt's years with Jennifer Aniston represented stability, partnership, and the idea of having it all. Yet their breakup revealed that even the most picture-perfect couples are not immune to life's complications. For Brad, it was another defining chapter, teaching him that love can be both a source of joy and a public battlefield. And as he moved forward into his next relationship, one far more volatile and transformative, those lessons would follow him. If Brad Pitt's time with Gwyneth Paltrow was about youthful passion and his marriage to Jennifer Aniston was about stability, then his relationship with Angelina Jolie was a storm, equal parts passion, controversy, and transformation. It was the love story that redefined his public image, brought him fatherhood, and sparked one of the most sensational media frenzies in modern Hollywood history. To this day, the shadow of Brangelina looms large over Brad's life, a chapter that shaped not only his career but also his deepest personal struggles. The story began in 2004 on the set of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Brad and Angelina were cast as married assassins caught in a web of lies, betrayal, and explosive attraction. Their on-screen chemistry was undeniable, and the film's steamy scenes only fueled speculation that something more was happening behind the cameras. At the time, Brad was still married to Jennifer Aniston, which made the whispers all the more scandalous. Both Brad and Angelina denied any affair during filming, but Angelina later admitted that it was on that set that they fell in love. By early 2005, Brad and Jennifer had announced their separation, and soon after, photos emerged of Brad and Angelina together on a beach in Kenya, confirming what many had already suspected. The tabloids went into overdrive. Angelina, once labeled Hollywood's wild child, was branded a homewrecker, while Brad was painted as a man who had abandoned America's sweetheart for a dangerous new love. Together, they became Brangelina, a couple whose every move dominated headlines for over a decade. But beyond the gossip, Brad and Angelina's relationship was built on something real and powerful. For Brad, Angelina represented a kind of passion and intensity he had never experienced before. She was fearless, worldly, and deeply committed to humanitarian causes. Together, they didn't just live as celebrities. They became global icons, traveling the world, raising awareness for refugees, and building a family that symbolized both love and purpose. Their family became the heart of their story. Angelina had already adopted her son Maddox before meeting Brad, but soon after their relationship began, he legally adopted Maddox and later her daughter Zahara. Together, they went on to adopt Pax and have 3 biological children: Shiloh, Knox, and Vivienne. Overnight, Brad went from Hollywood bachelor to the father of 6. In interviews, he often described fatherhood as the most profound and grounding experience of his life, crediting Angelina with opening his heart to the idea of a big, blended family. Professionally, their partnership also thrived. While Brad continued to star in critically acclaimed films like The Curious Case of Benjamin Button and Inglourious Basterds, he also began producing through his company, Plan B Entertainment, which backed award-winning projects like 12 Years, A Slave. Angelina, meanwhile, transitioned into directing and continued her humanitarian work with the United Nations. Together, they seemed unstoppable, a couple who could conquer Hollywood and the world stage alike. Yet beneath the surface, cracks were forming. Their relationship was as intense privately as it appeared publicly, and that intensity often boiled over into conflict. Both Brad and Angelina were strong-willed, passionate individuals, and when disagreements arose, they were said to be explosive. Friends of the couple later described them as all or nothing, deeply in love but constantly clashing. The breaking point came in 2016, during a now infamous private flight from France to Los Angeles. Reports surfaced of an altercation between Brad and one of his children, which led to a child services investigation. Though Brad was later cleared of abuse allegations, the incident marked the beginning of the end. Just days later, Angelina filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. The world was stunned. Brangelina, the couple that had seemed larger than life, was over. The divorce quickly turned bitter, playing out in the public eye through custody battles and leaked court documents. Brad faced intense scrutiny, not only as a husband but as a father. He admitted later that he had struggled with alcohol and used the breakdown of his marriage as a turning point to seek sobriety. In a candid GQ interview, Brad confessed that he had to confront his own demons, admitting, "I can't remember a day since college when I wasn't boozing or had a spliff or something." The end of his marriage to Angelina forced him to rebuild himself from the ground up. For all the pain and controversy, Brad has consistently described his years with Angelina as transformative. He became a father, a humanitarian, and a man forced to reckon with his flaws. While their love story ended in heartbreak, it was also the relationship that most dramatically changed the course of his life. To this day, their co-parenting remains complicated, and the media continues to speculate on the bitterness of their split. Yet even with the lingering tension, one thing is undeniable. Brad Pitt's relationship with Angelina Jolie was unlike any other. It was fiery, passionate, and ultimately destructive. But it was also the period in which he experienced the greatest growth. As we look at Brad's journey, from Gwyneth's young love to Jennifer's stability and Angelina's passion, the question remains, who, after all these decades, does Brad Pitt consider the true love of his life? The answer may surprise you. After decades in the spotlight, 3 high-profile relationships, 6 children, and countless tabloid headlines, Brad Pitt has finally reached a point in his life where reflection takes precedence over spectacle. Now, in his late 50s, he is more candid than ever about the mistakes he's made, the lessons he's learned, and the loves that shaped him. For years, fans speculated about which of his partners, Gwyneth Paltrow, Jennifer Aniston, or Angelina Jolie, was the true love of his life. And recently, Pitt has offered insights that finally give an answer. What makes Pitt's confession so powerful is not just the name he reveals, but the way he frames it. Instead of a fairy tale declaration about one perfect love, Brad speaks with the wisdom of a man who has lived through passion, heartbreak, and growth. Each relationship, he admits, left an indelible mark on him. With Gwyneth, he discovered youthful intensity, but also learned the importance of timing. With Jennifer, he experienced partnership and companionship, but also realized how ambition and differing paths can quietly unravel even the strongest bond. With Brangelina, he lived through the heights of passion and the depths of personal struggle, emerging with hard-earned lessons about responsibility and sobriety. But when asked directly who the love of his life was, Brad's answer was surprisingly honest. He admitted that while he cherished all three women for different reasons, the relationship that most profoundly shaped him, and the one he still looks back on with a sense of what if, was his marriage to Jennifer Aniston. For Brad, Jennifer represented not only love but also peace, stability, and a home life that felt real amid the chaos of Hollywood. In later interviews, he confessed that he didn't fully appreciate that stability at the time, and he allowed his restlessness to pull him away from it. Looking back, he admitted that his unhappiness during the marriage was less about Jennifer and more about his own internal struggles. He wasn't ready to settle into the comfort she offered, and by leaving, he discovered how much he valued it only after it was gone. Over the years, Brad has shown glimpses of lingering affection and respect for Jennifer. At award shows, their friendly reunions became viral moments, sparking endless speculation of reconciliation. While they have both denied any romantic rekindling, their mutual warmth is undeniable. Jennifer herself once admitted that Brad would always hold a special place in her heart, and Brad has echoed those sentiments in his own way. In many respects, Jennifer remains the person he most regrets losing, the love he may never have fully understood until it was too late. That said, Pitt's reflections on Brangelina are equally revealing. He has acknowledged that their time together, though turbulent, was transformative. Through their relationship and their children, he discovered a deeper sense of purpose. The collapse of their marriage forced him to confront his own flaws, especially his battle with alcohol. In his own words,